Hello, hello, and welcome to this live stream. I'm so excited to be trying this out for the first time and going live. And for me, it is just a win to be showing up here and doing this for you. So I'm just going to make sure that everything is functioning properly. And yeah, it looks like we're actually live. So that's great. So I just want to say welcome. If you're here live with me, thank you for being here. You can drop questions live in the YouTube chat, and I'm watching right over here. So if you see me glancing over there, that's why. So let's go ahead and let's see. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to talk about Today, we're going to be talking about how to leverage AI in your content marketing. I've gotten so many questions about this literally since ChatGPT launched. I think it was November of last year. People keep asking me, like, Haley, what are you doing? You're a copywriter. What does this mean? Are you going to lose your job? And what should I be doing with AI for my content marketing? And it's just a lot of overwhelm and confusion. So that's why we're here today, is because I truly want to help you figure out how to implement AI and not be so overwhelmed, because I totally understand what that's like. Now, as far as what to expect today, we'll definitely be doing a quick overview of what AI actually is, about the myths about AI that you might think are true, but we'll just do a little myth busting there. I'll also be telling you about which AI tools I personally use in content marketing and which ones I recommend. I'm not an expert. I haven't tried every single tool out there, but I can 100% tell you about my experience. I'll also give you 5 really clear, straightforward steps, so that if you're wondering where to begin and how to actually get this thing going, I'm going to tell you the exact 5 steps that you need to do to implement AI in your content marketing strategy. Ultimately, at the end of this live event, I want you to feel equipped to not be overwhelmed and to be super clear on how AI can help you in your business, and specifically with your content and your marketing. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I want to tell you a little bit about me, and then I'll tell you how AI has helped me in my business. I'm a copywriter and an SEO strategist. I've been in this industry for over 5 years now. I started my career in the tech industry, so I've always been very tech forward. I've always, seen new tech things, new trends appear, and been able to evaluate which ones are going to stick around and which are more temporary. So I personally knew as soon as ChatGPT launched, I was actually working with a client on an article all about OpenAI, which is the company that launched ChatGPT. So right from the beginning, I was kind of digging in and researching and trying to understand what ChatGPT meant for us in this industry and for the world as a whole. So I at first kind of wanted to ignore it. Like, I'll be honest with you guys. I was nervous because, of course, as a writer, you're always worrying about job security. But very quickly, after I actually went out and did my own research, I talked to a ton of people in different industries. I talked to a ton of writers, and then I started actually using ChatGPT and AI in my own work. I realized this is actually an amazing thing. And you'll see here, like, I think AI has helped me triple at least my content output. I don't know if you guys follow me on social media, but over the past, I would say, like 2 months, I've really been hitting it hard with the content, with blog posts, with LinkedIn, with Instagram, with doing this event, with finally getting consistent with my newsletter. And even though I might not use AI for every single one of those platforms, AI can't make an Instagram reel for me. If you know how to do that, please tell me. But it's like really just reduced my overwhelm around content for my own personal brand. So I felt like AI allowed me to finally work on my own personal brand. I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this. We're doing our client work, we're writing all day for our clients, maybe we're doing brand work for them, maybe we're doing other things. So, how are we supposed to find time for ourselves? And so, personally, for me, AI has really just allowed me to finally take that time to focus on my personal brand and marketing my own business. It's also, I will say, because I spend a lot of my time writing for my clients, it's really doubled at least my efficiency when writing for clients. I definitely use it specifically for long form content. So if we're writing a blog post about, for example, the profit first method of accounting, AI can be really helpful in just letting me get like the facts down and creating the outline. And I'll talk more about all this later, but I definitely use it with my clients too. And finally, it's also attracted tons of attention in my business. I'll be honest, guys, like a lot of people aren't talking about AI. So if you start talking about it and you start implementing it in your business, you might get a lot of attention and start to position yourself as a forward thinker and a thought leader. And that's really cool. So, yeah, that's about me and why you should be here listening. So I hope I can help you out. um, all right, so let's talk about the state of AI in 2023. 28% of companies are now using AI for marketing purposes. I think this might have gone up, because I think the statistics from the end of last year, so it might have gone up now, but it's just really interesting. A third of companies are already using AI to help them with their marketing. In addition, ChatGPT has 13 million daily users. I know some of you I've talked to, you're like, oh my God, I can't get on ChatGPT because people are using it all the time and they don't really have the bandwidth to handle all these users yet. Something interesting is that they do now have a premium version. I think it's less than $20 a month where you can access it during peak times. But yeah, and they've also surpassed 100 million users, which if you're familiar with tech, that is totally insane. It took Google when they launched Google Plus, it took them like over 2 years, I read, to actually get that million users. So for ChatGPT to have that many users already is just insane. And they did that in 2 months. And then Jasper, a lot of people have asked me about Jasper too. It's an AI writing tool specifically built for marketers. And they're one of the leaders in this industry from a company perspective. And they've they recently raised over 100 million funding, and they're valued at 1.5 billion. So that's crazy. For reference, a lot of financial tech companies, like I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Plaid, but they're valued similarly or above that. So AI is really becoming more mainstream, and we cannot ignore it this year. So let's talk about what that means for your business. Again, I want to frame this whole discussion. We'll get into the practical steps of how to use AI. But what I really want to address here in the beginning and how I want to frame this issue is understanding that AI is overwhelming. It is something that we have to learn about. It can be challenging, but we cannot ignore it because it's actually a massive opportunity for you to grow. So this graph I found on Wikipedia, and it talks about how when technology rolls out, there's always the innovators who maybe came up with it. They're the first few people who use it. Then there's the early adopters who really go all in. They might be involved in the process of refining and improving the technology. And then we get to the early majority. And as you saw in my statistic earlier, about 28% of marketers are already using AI for marketing. So we're right here in the early majority. And as a business, that is where you want to be. You don't want to be over here with the late majority or with the laggards or beyond that. You want to be jumping in right now at this incredible point with the early majority, because what that means is that AI has been refined by the early adopters. It's become incredibly efficient. The use cases are there. It's been proven. So we need to jump in here now. And what this yellow line really is showing you is that people like Facebook, Google, and Amazon, I was doing some research, they were all early adopters of technology. So now they've grown to be massive, to have huge amounts of market share. And that's what we see consistently if you look at history with companies that are early adopters or in the early majority with new technology. All right. So, another thing I wanted to mention here is that typically with software and with technology, there's a big risk that comes with being an early adopter. If you think about a company like Amazon that wants to roll out a new software, maybe it's, back when they were rolling out the cloud and cloud computing. I don't know that much about software, so bear with me. But that's a risk to them because that could impact the infrastructure of their company and the actual operations of their company. So it can be really risky sometimes, depending on what it is, to be an early adopter. There could still be a lot of bugs. It might not be proven to actually be helpful or effective. But where we are with AI now is very, very low risk for people that are implementing it. So if you start using Jasper or you start using ChatGPT, it's not really a risk for you to use these tools because, like, think about it. You just take the benefits of it and you leave what you don't want. Yes, you need to fact check and there are other issues that we'll get to. But when you look at the big picture, this is a really exciting opportunity for you because you pretty much can't lose by just trying to implement AI into your processes, okay? So when you look at AI in the landscape, that presents a massive opportunity for your business to grow, and the caveat there is as long as you don't panic, right? I know my copywriters that might be on here right now, they're thinking that AI is going to steal their job. I've talked to people who, I've even seen publications where they're saying, we don't use AI at all in our content, only humans. And they have this attitude of like, AI is evil and we've got to stick with the human touch and the human voice. And that is true, okay? But if you have just a closed-minded approach to this and you're not willing to try it out and see what it can do for you, then you're not going to be able to take advantage of all these opportunities that I just talked about. It's going to be very challenging. So what I want to challenge you to do is to actually, if this is you right now, if you're panicking, I want to ask you to kind of reframe your approach. Whether you're in marketing, whether you're a copywriter yourself, whether you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, I want you to think about, what can AI allow you to do? Can it allow you to take on more clients? Can it give you a competitive advantage because companies are actually always looking for the most innovative people to work with? So as a copywriter, eventually companies are going to be looking for copywriters that know how to work with AI and how to be more efficient with AI, and they know how to partner with AI. And another one, can AI actually make you more valuable? If you learn how to use it now, it can make you more valuable just like any other skill, just like back when Microsoft Docs or Microsoft Word came out. You know how people still list Microsoft Word as a skill in their resumes? I think that's so funny. But it's because back then when it first launched, it really was a valuable skill to be able to know how to use Microsoft Word because it was a new technology. So I think AI is going to be very similar in that it's going to make you more valuable as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, and as a writer if you learn how to use it now. You just can't panic, okay? So the risk is greater if you avoid it. You can fall behind. You'll end up in that late majority and really lose all the opportunity that can be gained by using AI now. All right. So let's take a step back. I want to just talk to you quickly about the context of AI and where it came from, because sometimes people feel like, oh my God, where did this AI come from? Oh, ChatGPT launched and it just popularized AI. But the truth is that AI has actually been around for a long time. So, quick vocabulary word for you. The tools that you see today, ChatGPT and Jasper AI, they're built on something that's called a large language model. And a large language model, I put it out here for you, is a type of artificial intelligence that's trained to understand and generate human language. It can be used for translation, summarization, text generation, all those good things. Now, OpenAI is a artificial intelligence. They were a nonprofit, now they're for profit. It's a whole thing. But they are basically leaders in the field of artificial intelligence, and they're all about researching it and learning how to make it benefit humanity. And it was founded by Elon Musk and a bunch of other Silicon Valley guys. They developed GPT-3, which is the language model that actually powers ChatGPT and Jasper AI. It powers both of those. The large language model is kind of what underlays, ChatGPT is actually a chat bot. So it's something that you can talk to and converse with. And the large language model is what lies underneath. Basically, the large language model produces a word sequence based on the probability of certain words following each other in a way that resembles the way people write. Think of it like a robot that can understand and talk like a human. And it does all that by training itself on data, from across the internet. Any data it can get its hands on, it's trained on that. Okay. So AI has been around a long time, like I said, since 1966. This is just a fun fact for you to understand the historical context. Joseph Weizenbaum was a researcher and developer at MIT. And back in 1966, he created one of the first large language models, and it was named ELIZA. And ELIZA used simple, basic rules to react to user input naturally and conversationally. And just a fun fact for you, she was actually developed to help with the medical industry. So it's very interesting. Like there's a lot of applications for AI in healthcare, but today, of course, we're focusing on marketing. Okay. Like I said, let's see. ChatGPT and Jasper AI are the two tools that I'm going to be talking about today. They're both powered by OpenAI's GPT-3 language model. And just so you guys understand the difference, in case you're new to this world, Jasper is a very interesting tool. It's a company that built this tool that is almost, I don't want to call it a chatbot because it's a lot more than that, but it was built specifically to help marketers. So it's built specifically and trained on data that specifically helps people do things like social media copy, email copy, long form blog posts, things like that. So everything about the interface, everything about, they have templates in there, everything is built for marketers. It can cost anywhere from $60 to like $200 a month. So it is a little bit more of an investment. Excuse me. Jasper is a little bit more of an investment. ChatGPT is actually how I got into this world because it's free. And that's kind of why it was such a big deal, is because OpenAI rolled it out to the public for free for one of the first time ever that people have had access to this kind of tool for free. And it's only free temporarily, just so you guys know, because it's essentially a prototype. So in the future, it will cost money to use ChatGPT. They're already rolling out a pro version right now, as I mentioned earlier, where you can pay to have access to certain features and have access during peak hours. Okay. So, and ChatGPT, they don't have templates in there. It's not built specifically for marketers. It's very, very helpful, but it is very much a chatbot in that you have a dialogue with it, versus Jasper is, again, kind of like a marketing tool. And you kind of have to use both. Jasper has a free trial, so you can figure out which one's better for you. I recommend trying both. If you're super new to this world, just start with ChatGPT, okay? Because it's free. No need to pay. All right. Oh, Brianne, I see you. Oh, you love seeing my content. You're so nice. Thank you. All right, guys. So let's talk real quick about the myths that are currently keeping you from using AI. Okay. This is things that I've heard from real people from across the industry. And I just want to myth bust these right now. One of them is that I can do it better myself. So a lot of times you come to the tool and it just seems too overwhelming. You think that they can't understand your business or your ideal client or what you're trying to do. So you just close it up, you walk away because you think, I'll just do it myself. Like a parent that asks their kids to do their chores, so they just do the chores for their kids because they don't have time to deal with that. Or maybe you think that AI is only for big companies. Maybe you only think it's relevant if you already have an entire marketing team to implement it for you. Maybe you think, because of one of those two reasons, it's not worth your time to learn. I mean, trust me, who among us has time to learn another skill? Good Lord. I was trying to learn Facebook ads this week and it has been a nightmare. So I feel you if you don't want to learn a new skill, okay? But I'm going to try to convince you that it's worth your time. You might have heard that these tools have inaccurate information. Okay, that one is kind of true in the sense that ChatGPT specifically is only trained with data up to 2019, and I believe Jasper is also. But if you take the time to learn about these tools, you'll learn that you can kind of educate them. So I don't want to get too much into it right now, but for example, if you're writing a blog post with Jasper and you want Jasper to write something about COVID-19 and the pandemic in 2020, well, then you just need to input a few facts for Jasper and he can write anything you want because he is trained on the idea of pandemics, on the historical context of pandemics and things like that. Okay. Anyone else know? And I'm seeing Brianne again. Anyone else have any other myths that you've ever heard about AI that are just kind of stopping you from using it? I'll give it a second. Or do any of these resonate with you? So if you guys think of any myths, I'll come back. But I just want to say, oh, Brianne's saying it's not trustworthy. Yes, so that kind of goes back to what I said about the inaccurate information, right? I think that if you want to do some research on your own about some of the ethical considerations of AI, I would totally recommend doing that because there are a lot of considerations like it's trained on intellectual property and isn't that stealing and so is that copyright and so should we support AI? Or again, maybe it's there are instances of AI being racist or saying like homophobic things or situations like that. But I think the important thing to remember here is that AI is can be used for good or evil, just like money, right? Just like a kitchen knife, a little bit of a graphic example, but a kitchen knife can be used to hurt someone or to cut some delicious vegetables. So I would say, do your own research if you have concerns, fact check everything you write. Everything that you work with the AI on, just fact check it. It's always a best practice, even if you are working with a human writer to support you. Okay. So um, that takes me to my next point. Darlene says AI may be inaccurate at times, but humans speak and posting inaccurate things all the time. That is so true. And I think that that is really the approach we need to have with AI is just understanding that people tend to historically demonize any kind of change and anything they don't understand. So that's why I wanted to do this event for you is so that you can actually understand it. And then when you understand it and you understand the historical context and you understand how to use it, then you can see that it can be used for good and to improve your business and to grow your business. And that's really amazing. So this brings me to my next point, which is that using AI, frankly, just requires a growth mindset. And whether you're an entrepreneur or a copywriter or a marketer, we all know that we have to have a growth mindset to succeed. We have to be willing to solve our problems in different ways and try different things, okay? There are flaws to AI. It's not perfect, but it is getting better and better as time goes on. And they are implementing, changes to reduce some of these inaccuracies and false information and other concerns. But I think the most important thing to remember is that all the flaws don't mean that you can't gain a ton of value from the tools. All right. Oh, I also saw someone in one of the groups mention that it's an analogy of a car. So when people were first inventing cars, we all thought that having a wagon or a horse or whatever was good enough. Like, why do we need something better? And then when cars are introduced, now we all use cars and can't imagine our lives without cars, right? So it's kind of a silly example, but I just thought that was funny. All right. Let's see what everyone else is saying. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you guys about the good stuff. The 5 steps that you actually need to start implementing AI tools. With AI, like I mentioned earlier, I've really skyrocketed my content marketing efforts, my social media, my personal brand, but it didn't come without a learning curve. So I'm hoping that I can help you avoid some of the mistakes that I made so that you can really, like I said, my goal is just to allow you to hit the ground running and gain a ton of value from AI as quickly as possible. So let's talk about step 1, strategize. This is so important because the amount of comments and conversations I've had with people who say, well, I logged on to ChatGPT and it didn't work. It wasn't helpful for me. It didn't understand what I needed from it. And I keep thinking that just like if you hire an employee, if you walk in without a strategy and without knowing exactly what you want them to do, then it's not going to work, right? So you need to start with a strategy before anything else. I bet that most of you already have some sort of content or marketing strategy in hand, but I'll just show you this real quick. So this is a quick look at my behind the scenes, my content strategy. So first, you need to get clear if you're not on who you serve and what you offer. And then you can kind of address all these things. So this is what I did before I even started AI. I thought about my top content marketing goals, signing new clients, getting an email list, establishing myself as an expert. I thought about where am I trying to drive the traffic that I'm going to get from my content. And then I thought about, all right, what's the Q1 roadmap? And this is not filled out, but in a perfect world, it would be filled out. So, but I knew, in February, I was going to talk a lot about AI. In January, I was going to do this stuff. And then I've also got here, I had my content pillars. And that's each of the kind of different topics that I want to talk about and focus on. So sometimes when people do content, and we won't get into a whole content strategy thing right now, but sometimes when you do content, you have no idea what to write about. So it can be helpful to just put all your ideas in one place and know, all right, I'm just going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about copywriting, the results that I've gotten for myself or for my clients. And then I can run with that, right? So AI, most important thing to remember here is that AI is not going to solve your strategy problem. Okay. You always need to start with a strategy. Now, second, you need to have a roadmap. You need to actually have a plan in mind about how you're going to execute your content strategy. Here's what this might look like. Okay. You can avoid your overwhelm by starting with a clear plan. For me, I cannot plan things out 6 months at a time. My brain does not work that way. So it helps me to have this kind of framework where I at least know what I'm shooting for. I know that on Sunday, my newsletter is going to go out. I know that on Monday, I'm going to repurpose the newsletter to Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I know that on Wednesday, I might do a day in the life. I know that on Thursday, I'm going to also do another email. So I have an actual plan for how I'm going to execute that content strategy. And I think, sometimes people get overwhelmed, and this was me for a long time. I thought I have to have it all planned out day by day by day. And that just got exhausting because if I missed a day, I had to reschedule everything. And so it helped me to just step back and say, okay, well, I know that every week these are my goals: to post twice on LinkedIn, post 3 times on Instagram, or whatever. And like I said earlier, remember that you wouldn't expect an employee to perform without guidance, and you shouldn't expect that from artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is really meant to be your assistant. So taking that approach can be very helpful if you get overwhelmed with these tools. All right, now step 3. I know everyone's excited. Now, how do we actually use these AI tools? It's time to leverage your assistant by delegating. Now, I know this text is really small, but it's just an example on the left. Um, what I want to say is that AI is most powerful when you give it a purpose and you know exactly what you're trying to gain from it. So, some of the things that I use AI for and that I like to delegate to AI is brainstorming, outlining, researching, repurposing, and summarizing. So, you see this example here. I said to ChatGPT, this is ChatGPT, can you outline an effective webinar about how content marketers can leverage AI? That's where we're at right now. And you can see here, it did a great job. I also told it who my audience is. I said, my audience is marketing leaders that work in the tech industry. They're overwhelmed and want actionable steps for how to implement AI writing tools. My goal as a webinar host is to get hired as a content strategist to help them implement AI. So this all comes from the content strategy I made, right? When I made the content strategy and I made the roadmap, I knew what event I wanted to hold. I knew the topic. I knew who my audience was, and I knew the outcome I wanted to achieve. And then I take that to my assistant, to ChatGPT. I tell it exactly what I need, and boom, it gives me a whole outline. So that's pretty incredible. It saved me a lot of time. And even though you'll notice that this event is not following that exact outline, it helped me so much with just having a starting point. If you guys have any questions, by the way, along the way, just let me know. All right, so step 4 is to test and refine. Continued learning is the key. That's the growth mindset I was talking about. AI is like anything else in your life. It just takes practice. Often when, like I mentioned earlier, when people go to AI, they get overwhelmed. And so they decide just not to use it. It's not worth their time. It's not worth messing with. But especially if you're a solopreneur or in the marketing industry, you really need to take the time to use this, because it's one of those things where if you invest even 2 to 3 hours over a weekend into just learning how to work with these tools, it can completely change your life and completely upgrade your content marketing strategy. Just a few tips for you as you start, practicing with these tools and implementing. One of them is, especially if you're using ChatGPT, be conversational, okay? Because it is a chat bot at the end of the day. And so just talk to it like you would talk to an assistant. say things like I showed you in the example earlier. Who's your audience? What do you want? I'll give you an example of this in a second. But you also want to educate your tool. I mentioned this too. If it's giving you inaccurate information, then just add a few facts in there and say, hey, here's the facts about the pandemic or whatever. And here's what I want. I want a 500-word blog post. And then it will take the info it gave you, or it will take the info you gave it, and it will take what you want, which is a 500-word blog post, and it will generate that for you based on the facts you gave it. Also use online resources. If you want to use Jasper, they have an entire learning academy for Jasper. It's absolutely incredible. They have an onboarding course also that just takes an hour to complete. I did it. It was amazing. So you really just can't jump into these things without any education. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's going to take some time. Also work on your prompts. So here's the example. I asked ChatGPT I said, can you write 2 paragraphs on how not investing in content marketing prevents early stage startups from gaining momentum, building trust, and nurturing relationships with their ideal customers? So I already kind of had an idea about what I wanted it to say. I think this was going to be an email or a paragraph in a blog post. So that's why I said 2 paragraphs. But, it gave me something. And I wrote back, rewrite this as if you were speaking to the tech founder directly, because it gave me an answer that was a little vague. And so it rewrote everything with the pronouns you. It made it a little bit more friendly and approachable and casual. And it didn't quite give me what I wanted on the last sentence. It kind of stopped without getting too much in depth. So then I just said, hey, expand on that last sentence, please. And it did it. So, this is just really important to see, and I hope it's helpful to you guys, because often people get super frustrated when they're using these tools because it's like, why isn't it doing what I want? But that's where it's just so important to learn how to delegate, how to be conversational, how to educate it, and remember that I promise in time it will get easier. Nowadays, when I log on to ChatGPT or Jasper, it's like, boom, I can write a whole blog post. It sounds really good, and I'm done in like 2 hours. Brianne's asking, do you prefer ChatGPT or Jasper? So I'll tell you guys, I have not, I've used Jasper. I've used their free trial. I did a couple of free trials. For me, it was just a little overwhelming because it really is. I'll share a podcast link in the follow-up to this. There's a really great podcast with the founder of Jasper, and she talks about how it's really built for whole marketing teams. So if you have like a dedicated marketing assistant, or maybe you have more time, Jasper can be really great to learn and utilize. But if you're like me and you're a solopreneur, you want something that's free, you want something that's a little bit more straightforward, then I prefer ChatGPT because it allows me to kind of have this flow where we're just collaborating together. Whereas Jasper can be overwhelming for some people because it has a lot of templates, it has a lot of different capabilities. It is great because it allows you to it makes it very simple to, for example, repurpose a blog post. You could give it the blog post and it will help you with social media captions and emails and all that good stuff. But ChatGPT can do the same thing. It's just a little bit more roundabout. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. For me, ChatGPT was more direct, easier to access, and Jasper AI was just a little bit overwhelming because they even admit publicly that they don't really target solopreneurs or individual marketers. They're more about marketing teams. All right, so the last step to Brianne, yes, I like simplicity too. The last step, guys, is going to be scaling. So once you've learned how to use your tools, you've got your strategy, you've got your roadmap, you've tested a few things, refined your processes, then you'll be able to really scale your efforts up. I hope that you can eventually make these tools an integral part of your day-to-day business operations. For me, I use it for everything from writing emails to, like I said, blog posts to LinkedIn captions. Something I just thought of about Jasper AI is they did just launch a Google Chrome extension. So you can use it literally in your Gmail inbox now to help you with email. So that's pretty cool because it's getting more integrated in your day-to-day. But again, I don't know if it's worth it to you depending on how busy you are to pay $60 to $100 a month for that tool. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, here are just a few tips for you as you try to like make the most impact you can with these AI tools. The best way, just like in anything in life, is to stay very consistent. Use repurposing features. Don't ignore that. Don't ignore that you can put in a whole blog post and ask it to generate the social captions, like I already said. I would also recommend scheduling time on your calendar every week. Like if you already batch your content on Mondays or Fridays or whatever day, then make sure that you schedule time in that to actually learn how to work with your AI tools. Also, make sure that you follow your roadmap. Whenever you get overwhelmed, just go back to the roadmap and go back to the strategy. Also, make sure that you ask for help when needed. These days, there are tons of forums on Reddit, on Facebook, on like online YouTube videos. All of these resources are available and they're only growing every day as more and more people learn how to use ChatGPT and AI tools. LinkedIn is also a great source if you follow any like AI influencers or content marketers. They're always posting about the new things that they've been able to do with ChatGPT. And lastly, most importantly, keep testing what works best for you. At the end of the day, you know exactly what your business needs. You know what's going to work best for you. So just keep testing it and you'll be able to make it work for you. So the last thing, let's see, I have another slide here. Yes, so I just wanted to let you guys know that I can help you with your content strategy if you need it. This is new for me, talking about my offers on the live event, but I did just want to throw that out there because sometimes when, like I said, when people start using these AI tools, they get overwhelmed with those first two steps, the strategy and the roadmap. So these days I'm offering, if you just need like a 60-minute call to get things organized, you want someone to review your strategy, you want to workshop things together. I also have VIP days where we can spend a whole day together doing a deep dive into your ideal client and researching and then creating that whole strategy and roadmap for you for the entire quarter. And then I also offer full service content strategy and creation. So if you really want to just get it completely off your plate, and that's something I do too. And the best way to take that next step with me would just be to book a discovery call. So I'll throw that in the chat later because I realize YouTube is on my other screen, so I can't get it there. But you can go to my website, HaleyGDavidson.com, or my LinkedIn or Instagram. That link is everywhere. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to stay on for a couple minutes. If anyone has questions, if you disagree with me about anything, I would love to hear it. Just let me know. I'll be chilling here for a few minutes. Thank you, Brianne, for coming and for all your comments. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Darlene, for coming. I appreciate it. Like I said, guys, you can, I think we're all, Darlene and Brianne, you guys text me if you have any questions. Anyone else, feel free to find me on Instagram, Haley G. Davidson, or go to my website, HaleyGDavidson.com, and I would love to chat with you. All right. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Have an awesome weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.